Two of the biggest TV releases for 2022 have been compared against each other by HD test. That is the Samsung S95B against the Sony A95K. And they brought out an interesting finding that I have to look, at least give you guys my opinion on, because it seems like the Samsung, the S95B, is a lot brighter than the A95K, even though the A95K has a heatsink built in to protect it from being too hot or damage the panel. It's something the S95B does not have. And I remember when in fact, when I announced this TV, the Sony A95K, and as well as the S95B, I said that it looks like the S95B would perform a lot better. A lot of people came to the comment section of that video and they said no, it's not possible, that Sony is a lot better. Sony will perform better when it's compared against each other. Sony will by far be better than the Samsung. And the reason why they keep saying, or at least the people commenting and saying these things, is because one, the Sony is more expensive than the Samsung, and they want to justify the reason why you have to spend the extra money to buy the Sony. And it's not really the case, because comparisons have become a thing now, and companies will do comparison for people to understand what they are paying their money for. Because if you can buy the Samsung at a cheaper price, get better quality, get better visuals, or even get better, brighter performance, it would make a lot of sense for an average person to go for the Samsung as opposed to going for the Sony. I could be wrong. I get it. People have the brands they're loyal to, but it's what it is. So let's go over what is being said, because it is quite interesting. Because when you look at what has uh, has been said, you might start wondering, is it really worth it spending that money, the extra resources to buy the Sony, as opposed to that. So now, first of all, in the test, the Sony A95K is impressive. First of all, they said that it hit 100% of the DCI P3 gamut, and even performed really well. Like it also did 90% of the Rec 2020 color space. It really does very well in that regard in terms of color reproduction. It did that with flying colors. I had no issues with that. But the interesting part is when they started comparing how bright it could get, because a lot of people said that, look, that heat sink it's going to have would be the difference maker, that it is going to make it a lot suitable for brighter rooms. But it's not the case. Now, they tested it, HG Test tested it, and they said, look, when testing the peak brightness of a screen, uh, the reviewer pretty much uses an HDR signal that creates a rectangular white light with the rest of the screen, with the rest of the screen black. So they go on to explain what they did before they achieved the result that they achieved. But the result says that, look, it is 10% less brighter than the Samsung. What it means is that when it's full bright, it will do 1000 nits. That's the max that they could do, or they could test out of what they were doing, that it can only hit 1000 nits. It can't go over 1000 nits. Whereas the Samsung can go over 1000 nits. Out of the box, the Sony does around 900 nits. But when calibration and everything is done, it can do up to 1000 nits, which is the max it can do. And if that is the case, I do not know why it's a lot more expensive than the Samsung. Maybe I need to be educated on the reason why, because they claim that the Sony A95K has a heatsink behind the screen, which its job is just to enable it to hit higher brightness level, because normally when you're generating light at a high intensity, it will create heat, and heat is very bad for OLED pixels, and they need, or they have to add a way of absorbing uh, that heat, at least and even clear the heat out without any damaging results to the panel going forward. So that's the reason why they put on the heatsink. The heatsink is necessary if you're gonna be having a TV that is gonna be ridiculously bright. But for the fact that the Samsung, the S95B does not have any heatsink, can be a lot brighter. I don't know. I really don't know. And the comparison goes on to say like the the black level performance is almost on par with each other. It's not like the Sony outperforms it in terms of being a lot more dark in its contrast. It doesn't do that. But the fact that both of them are almost matched in terms of contrast, they're almost on the same level. The other thing again is that they compare their HDR performance, and they're almost on par with each other. Now I get it. There are some subtle differences here or there. Sony might be slightly better in maybe in the accuracy of color reproduction, but I don't think it's enough to warrant why you spend a lot of money to buy the Sony. That's it. Now the review goes on to say that look, the brightness limitation is still lower than other TVs that they have tested, and they use the example of the LG G2, that it performs slightly better than that, but not by much, not by much, and that's the major thing that they have tested. Look, I get it, I get it. I know people argued this. They say that look, you will get better performance from the Sony. I don't know. I don't know whether that is the case, because they even compare their gaming performance. Uh, they say that look, the Sony A95K's input lag is 60 milliseconds at 60 hertz in 4K resolution, um, and the S95B can do 5 milliseconds for 120 hertz at 1080p. That's they're saying that if you're more or less into gaming, you might slightly prefer this Sony in that regard. Um, they're still not saying that look, it's better overall for gaming than the current Samsung, but maybe the specs on it is a bit better for gaming. And but the other advantage for the Samsung is that it's gonna have 144 hertz signal input, which the the Sony does not have. So that's another advantage that makes it slightly better than the Sony. So that's another thing that they came to the conclusion of, that look, both of them have their own advantages here or there. If you need something that's brighter between the two, you might have to go for the Samsung. That's what they are saying. Look, if you need something that's slightly brighter, go for the Samsung. So that's it. That's it. There is no big deal with this review, but it is really interesting because when I announced this, people said, "Look, the price does not matter. Sony will outperform Samsung," but it's clearly not the case. Let's see what other reviewers will say with time, when they bring out their own comparison, their own analysis. And if there is any change of opinion, I'll bring you guys that report. Do subscribe to the channel. And see you guys very much next time.